The Central London Humanists and some other associated groups held a demonstration outside Westminster Cathedral this afternoon to protest against the Pope and his involvement and that of other senior clergy in the covering up of paedophile priests and their sexual crimes against children. The turnout wasn't huge. There were probably about 50 or 60 of us. Quite a few of us were late, I think probably thrown off by the clocks going forward, and it wasn't made any easier getting around London by the number of engineering works on the tube. But we made our point, peaceably, albeit vocally, appealing to Catholics to open their eyes and see what was being done by their so-called moral leaders. So here's some video footage and photos that I took during the protest.
Brother lives in Jerusalem. My sister lives over.
I grew up there when the house was built.
Personal responsibility in the cover-up of child sexual abuse. We stand with the victims and with lay Catholics who oppose the Pope's role in the cover-up of child sexual abuse. The Pope has allowed and instructed a cover-up of child abuse within the Catholic Church, and in doing so he has allowed offenders to re-offend. He has created more victims. More young children have been abused because the Pope ordered a cover-up, because the Pope failed to bring the perpetrators to justice, because the Pope instructed Catholics not to cooperate with the police. The Pope is responsible just as much as the offenders themselves. The Pope should resign.
Not too surprisingly, there were a few comments from the congregation as they left the church and passed us by. I think these exchanges could be roughly divided into the confused, the deluded, the wacky, and the righteously indignant. A young Polish man asked us why we were demonstrating, and he said that he felt that it was unfair to condemn the church by pointing to the paedophile priests, when, in his opinion, the church does so much good. Part of his argument was that the priests are human beings, and therefore they're not perfect. He was at a bit of a disadvantage, being outnumbered and not having English as a first language, but he did well in trying to put forward his point of view. And in response to his first point, we countered that there is no moral balance sheet where you can offset good deeds against bad deeds. And in response to his second point, he was told that if the priests are subject to human fallibility, they should also be subject to human laws, such as being punished for their crimes, rather than being shielded by the church and enabled to re-offend. And on both of these points he agreed with us, although he did seem a little bit confused as to how he could reconcile those concepts with what he believed about his church. One woman walked past us shouting, "This is all lies, none of it is true, you're all wicked." But unfortunately for thousands of children, and for children who've survived into adulthood, this story is all too true. The reason why I think people like this are so dangerous, people who refuse to believe that nice Father Murphy could ever do a thing like that, or people who deny that over 6 million Jews were ruthlessly and mechanically slaughtered in the middle of the 20th century, the danger of these people is that they do nothing to stop it, and they present the opportunity for it to happen again. And so Father Murphy gets moved to a new parish, where a whole new set of kids end up being attacked by him. Another woman who just left the church walked past us laughing. Someone called out to her, "Do you think that raping children is funny?" To which she shouted back, "Yes, it's funny." Yet another reason I'm glad that I don't get my morality from religion. Yet another member of the congregation came forward and objected that 300,000 children are murdered every year in the UK through abortion, and that this more than overshadowed any wrongdoing by the Catholic clergy. And to me, this is yet another example of this peculiar Catholic obsession with balance sheets, that bad deeds can somehow be mitigated through comparison with even worse ones, or undone, not through any kind of reparation, but through the use of magic spells. 1 Hail Mary for an impure thought, 2 for kissing a girl, 3 for copying a feel, and so on. I think that most of us who don't believe in magic are more than aware that religion and reason are not the best of bedfellows, but today was certainly a bit of an eye-opener. Finally, we encountered a woman who, on exiting the church, walked past shouting, "How dare you!" repeatedly at the top of her voice as she stormed off. How dare we? How dare we exercise our democratic right to free speech, to expose and protest against the rape of children? How dare we protest that the Pope and senior Vatican officials are coming to this country on a so-called state visit, when they covered up the rape of children through the use of sworn vows of secrecy from the victims, often on pain of excommunication, and then moved their child predators onto new pastures, where they went on to attack yet more children. How dare we ask those Catholics who claim to be good people to do something about this, to question their church's moral authority? So, since we were asked by a Catholic, "How dare you?" let me, in return, ask a question of Catholics. When it comes to your church placing the protection of its own reputation before the safety of children, when it comes to the Vatican perverting the course of justice and enabling the priests to find fresh prey, how dare you not protest?